Welcome back. Fascinating story this. The high street retailer John Lewis will begin renting furniture, including sofas, sideboards, desks, as it attempts to innovate and remodel its business for modern times. The retailer says it wants to target a new generation of customers who are used to renting or sharing items rather than owning them. But will it work? The retail analyst Kate Hardcastle joins us on the programme. Kate, lovely to see you this morning. I've got to say, one of the highlights of my morning was discussing this story with the younger members of our team, the press gang, as I like to call them. And when I pointed out that back in the day, people used to rent their televisions, even renting their radios, blank faces all round. So in terms of furniture, do we think this might work?
I think what we're seeing are businesses like John Lewis, and last year IKEA announced the same, trying to look at every single opportunity available to them. It's going to be a very challenging time ahead. And what we know about the younger market is a lot of people are renting homes, and because they're renting homes, they're looking to change up their furniture. They don't want to just do a mend. They want to have the newest styles, the latest fashions. And therefore, the rental market has boomed, be that cars, fashion. We've even seen it on electrical goods. People are looking to have the very latest, the very best for a monthly price they can afford. And then when they're finished with it, just give it away. So it's part of a developing trend, but certainly it's nothing new. I remember the rental market when I was younger. It was perhaps seen a little bit differently. There was perhaps a little bit of awkwardness about the fact you might have had to rent your television because it was a high purchase item and high cost. And maybe it was seen that you couldn't afford it to rent it. Whereas now, part of the element, I think, is the transient nature of people always wanting the latest, the best, and not wanting to wait.
So what are we talking about in terms of price point, in terms of costs for these items?
Well, certainly, if you were looking with a sensible pair of eyes, you might not think it added up over the long run, because it can be anything from £17 for a very basic desk or chair over the years. But what they're saying is, obviously, they're not expecting a lot of people to go the long haul with this, the distance where they've actually paid off the whole price, and therefore the item becomes them. They're expecting them to rejuvenate the areas, either by moving homes or giving it a completely different look. And we know that brands like John Lewis have had significant challenges of late. They've got these huge department stores that have seen a significant drop in footfall. There's a lot of competition. Indeed, Neil, the retail market was really struggling. It was very challenged for a lot of middle market brands prior to coronavirus and all the impact of lockdown. So it's no wonder that these brands are going to be doing anything they can to find opportunities outside of the norm to try and get profits and revenues back up.
See, maybe it's just because I'm fully getting this, but I understand obviously renting a house, I understand renting a car, but when it comes to items which cost substantially less than those, items which are in use every day, where there's natural wear and tear, where, I don't know, you might have a 4-year-old spilling stuff over it. I mean, is the mantra here, you broke it, you bought it?
There is very much a case in the policies that people need to be aware of, that if there is a red wine spillage on that sofa that's not coming out anytime soon, that you might be certainly responsible to cover the damage cost or indeed the full purchase price. So it isn't that this is without its flaws. I think perhaps where you and I struggle, being the same generation, is that, when I was young and I was setting up home and I couldn't afford furniture, I was down at charity markets. I was looking for giveaways from my family and friends just to make do with what I could get hold of until I could afford something. I liked the idea of buying something outright. The younger generation, majority of them just don't see things that way. They want the very best. They want the latest. They want the Instagram-worthy home or fashion item, but they don't want to keep it. They don't have the space. So they see it very much as part of their quite transient, quite flexible lifestyle. And that goes for car rentals too. The idea of picking it up when you need it and having a great looking car, rather than the old banger that I used to have on my driveway because that's all I could afford. I think it's just a very different mindset. And obviously any retailer who's looking for opportunities is going to capitalise on that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you've already intimated times are hard on the high street, and John Lewis clearly trying to innovate and get get any more customers that they can for wherever they can. I wonder who else you see on the high street at the moment who's innovating and coming up with creative ways to try and increase the revenue stream.
Oh, you see, the high street has had to redevelop itself and realign itself for what the consumer wants over the years. Now, some have been quite brilliant at that. They've brought experimental environments in. They've realised that it's about social interaction and engagement. We've seen everything from boxing rings in department stores to gyms in health and fitness goods and leisure wear outfitters, because they know that that space can't just be used for hanging up clothes or putting out furniture anymore. It's got to be something more exciting. You don't have to shop anymore 9 to 5:30. It's a case of, if you're going to a store, it's because you want to be there. And we know that the challenge with the health and safety at the moment means that stores are limiting the amount of people going in. You just can't interact and engage in the same way. And a lot of those experiences have had to be halted because of the very nature of them. So we've got retailers that are looking to find consumers in new ways. Now, certainly we've seen the subscription market increase, and that's the idea where almost you're getting surprises in a box every month, delivered to your home, be it from gin companies through to having different socks delivered to your house, if that's what floats your boat. But I think we're going to see different ways where the consumer is being reached by retailers directly to the home. And we've seen that through brands like Amazon, and also more traditional brands in the high street. So it's going to be a very changing time. What is absolutely true to say is, retail isn't going to be the way that it was in our childhood. It's got to be different. And we're not going to see high streets completely dependent and full of retail. It's going to be a very different offer.
It certainly will be. Kate, always a pleasure to have you on the programme. Thanks very much for being with us.